Welcome to the Activation Nation podcast, where we talk all things business, mindset, momentum, and what it really takes to build a life that you love. I'm your host, Mindy Trimble, and if you're ready to get activated in your health, your goals, and your future, you are in the right place. I am thrilled to have the one and only Shauna Mucklow here with me today. Shauna, I'm so excited that you were able to join.
Thank you for having me. Hey, everybody.
It's been a minute since you've been here, so thanks for jumping on. What I think it was, coming up on Momentum Academy, and I think it was the last Momentum Academy.
At the event, we talked. Yes, I was on the last podcast.
Oh, I love it.
If y'all go back and you wouldn't know it was me, because if y'all go back and listen to that one, I had completely lost my voice from all the excitement of the convention. Do you remember that, Mindy?
You'd been yelling
Yelling.
Because you gave an amazing presentation during the leadership portion, and then things just really took a turn. There was so much excitement, so much yelling. By the time that we sat down to do that podcast, she barely could talk.
Yep. I sound like a mouse, squeaking mouse. So if you go back and listen, I sound a little better today.
Like a really old, long-time smoker man.
Okay, maybe.
That's where I was going. But I like mouse better.
Okay, yeah, very good. Very good. We'll go with that.
Well, and then, I know that you were kind of struggling with that recently, of having lost your voice a little bit. So
silly. I think it's because I have a lot of energy, and when I get excited, I get really excited, right? Really excited. And let's be honest, there's exciting things happening in LifeVantage. So
yeah, there is. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. And everyone listening is going to find out even more in a week or so about it. So that's really exciting. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's just dive in. We are going to talk today all things about being in person. And as we know, our theme this year is breakthrough, which I have to say, when I first heard about this theme, I kind of was like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. And then as we have started to really incorporate it and talk about it more, it has been amazing, because I feel like it has been something that is so applicable for every person at every stage that they're at in their personal life, in their business, whatever it might be. But thinking about having those personal breakthroughs is so universal. And it's something that I didn't expect and didn't think of when I first heard that was going to be the theme, but has been really like a great surprise as we kind of dove in and really applied it. Mm-hmm. And momentum is going to be absolutely phenomenal, because we are talking about so many people's personal breakthrough stories that are so powerful.
I was going to say, and I think that the thought of a breakthrough, right? The thing that makes me so excited is no matter where you're at in life, you can have a breakthrough from where you are today. And it doesn't have to be massive, right? Sometimes it is. It's funny because when I think about like going to an event and I'm talking to my team about why someone would want to go to like a momentum or a convention, right? I'm like, here's what I have found over the years. For context, I've been with LifeVantage for 10 years. I haven't missed a convention or event, right? And looking back, I can literally see that every time that I have gone to a convention or event, I grow myself a little bit. Like I have a mini breakthrough personally, which then it's like I go home and I can build my business a little bit bigger because I broke through a little bit. And then I go to the next one and I have another little mini breakthrough. And then I go home and build my business or coach a little bit different or talk a little bit different or whatever. It's just like every little thing, there's like this mini breakthrough. Then it's like, you got to grow yourself to grow your business. You got to grow yourself to grow your business. And that's exactly how I feel about it. So,
yeah, I love that. Well, so speaking of that, Shauna, you just mentioned you've been, did you say 10 years?
10 years. This in March was 10 years.
Very cool. Well, speaking of that, do you remember the very first event that you went to?
Yes, of course I do. The first two were two of my most memorable. Well, I think there's a story that comes out of every single event that I could tell, but I actually was just rehashing these two stories The first event, I rolled on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, and the
Right.
next event was May, right? So not very far apart.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be honest, it would have been really easy in my stage of life. Okay, so I owned another business, right? At that time, I had 36 sales reps across the country. I had a studio with employees, and our busiest season was Mother's Day.
Ah,
I had
yep.
every
And you
excuse.
said the event was in May, so I'm
Yes,
putting 2 together here.
literally, I had every excuse of all the reasons I shouldn't go. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Like, I did. And back then, finances were a little bit tight because, I mean, that was one of the reasons I wanted to start my LifeVantage business, right? Is like because not only the products, which was number one, first and foremost, but number two was, man, sky's the limit. I want to be part of something great, and the income potential is, amazing.
Sure,
And
yeah.
so I was literally every excuse. And my husband looked at me. Thank goodness for my husband, Greg. If you know him, tell him, like, thank you from my behalf. Um, he looked at me and said, if you don't go, how will you know?
Mm.
How will you
Wise.
know? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, how will you really know this is something you really want to be a part of? Right?
Mhm.
Right now, you think you do because you know a couple people,
Sure.
but if you go see the whole thing, you're going to have a pretty good understanding.
Right. You'll come home
Yeah.
knowing this is something I love and I wanna be a part of, or I'm having second thoughts.
Yeah.
But if you don't go, how do you
Yeah.
know?
So my enroller was my doctor. Okay. But she
Okay.
was not going to the event for her own reasons, right? She was not going to the event. And I only knew the people that I had been introduced to that 6 weeks prior as acquaintances, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so again, another reason that I couldn't like is not comfortable. Like I'm gonna
Yep.
fly by myself. I'm gonna stay by myself. I'm gonna like I once I get there, I mean, I know these people are gonna make me feel comfortable, obviously,
Mhm.
but I
A lot of
I
unknowns.
yeah. So I went, and being there in that room, I sat in the back. It was actually in Anaheim. And so there was this big stadium, like imagine stadium seating where like there's a top and a bottom, and then there's floor seating, like when you go to a concert, it was like that. And I sat kind of midway up in the back in the like so I was higher. And
Mhm.
I remember like looking down, you know what I mean? Like you could see all of it, you could see the stage. And I just remember every single person speaking. I was like, I feel that. I feel that. I feel that. I get that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, they're just like me. Oh my gosh, they're not just like me, but that shows me anybody can do this thing, right? Like, and then I heard the corporate staff speak, and I was like, oh, I can feel their hearts. I
Yeah.
can feel their hearts. And that's when like it solidified in me, like, this was meant to be, and I'm supposed to be here. And
Mm.
I'm going to go home and shout this from the rooftops. That was my first event.
Okay. What did it look like when you got home after having that experience?
We can just call this diarrhea of the mouth. I ran around and told everybody that they needed to be at the next one, right? Like, you got to come with me. This is like not just a business. This is personal growth. This is something you want to be a part of. This is like
Mhm.
literally, I couldn't stop talking about this, which is probably why my business grew, right? Like, truly, that's what
Wow.
it comes down to. But I don't think I would have had that much confidence, that much posture, that much excitement without going to that event. Truly.
Mhm.
No one
Yeah.
could have made me as excited as me just going to feel it myself and see it myself. Like Greg said, how will you know, right? And I knew being in that room.
Yeah.
And then I always think that there's two, I will say this, not that you asked, but I always think there's two really important dates in everybody's business.
Mhm.
It's the date that they enroll in their business,
Okay.
and it's the date that they decide to do it.
Ah. What
Because it's
was the
usually
thing
2
you
different dates,
decided to do it?
that event.
That was it. That
I
first
mean, I
event.
had already had a little bit of success going into the event, like,
Sure.
y'all, I'm not a shy person, okay? So when I when I heard about LifeVantage and I sat down and I was I'm gonna be honest with you, I was a hard sell. I had a lot, that's a whole nother topic, but I was a hard sell to get in the business. I thought I'm already a business person. I already have a business, all the things. But I was excited enough that I walked out of that initial, it was John who came and just talked to me and my husband in my husband's office, right? And so it was like an in-person little tiny meeting. But by the time I enrolled, and then by the time I walked into my car, I was making my first phone call telling somebody about it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a shy person. So because I started having conversations, I was pretty excited about what I just heard. I had success early on. And so I think when I went to the event, it might have only been 6 weeks, but I was already like, I don't know, rank advanced like 2 or 3 times. You know what I mean? So it was, I felt like, I think this is something I want, but I hadn't really decided that it could be a bigger part of my life. And I was going to give it time, if that made sense. So that event helped me kind of make that shift. It was my decision day, really.
That was it. That was when you made
Mhm.
the real decision.
Yeah. Then my second event is kind of a funny story. So my second event, I did have a small team with me. I had a team of 3 who came with me. And it was in Orlando during a hurricane.
That always makes things a little more interesting.
Yeah, right? So you can't forget this story. Literally, the convention, we had a lockdown. We had canceled the convention for a whole day. And so it was me and these 3 teammates all shared a room, locked down. And I will tell you, that was also the most incredible event. It's like a friendship, a bond, something happened at that event because we were like locked in a room together and we got to talk and learn and strategize. And when you're, like, I will just say this out loud, when you are a mom,
Mhm.
right? Part of it is that you just get away from your everyday. You get away from, like, so you just have time to think and understand what your own thoughts are. Like, what do
Mhm.
I want? What do I like truly? Because sometimes your brain is so full with just everyday life and taking care of the kids and like all the job, like all the things
Yes.
that when you remove yourself from your place and go to a convention, you actually have time to get it and understand it and let it sink in and say things that you maybe haven't even thought yet. You know what I mean? It's just something happens. It really does.
Yeah, you start to actually be able to have thoughts.
Correct.
Yeah, I've experienced that.
Okay, good.
Well, so okay, so your first 2 events were memorable
Mhm.
and magical, and a lot of amazing things happened, and it's interesting, 2 very, very different
Yes.
experiences.
Yes.
Different places, different experiences, different people. You didn't
Yes.
have that team with you the first time you went. Now fast forward 10 years.
Well, hold on. I want to tell you about my third event because that was pretty crazy.
Ooh, okay.
Honestly, I could tell you a story about every single one. I remember everyone. But my
I
third
don't
event,
know if you remember these first 3 events.
yeah. Oh, goodness. Yes. You remember all of them because they're all so special. Something happens at every single event. I'm not kidding you. Like,
Yeah.
but special things can't happen if you're not there. Like, truly. So my third event, I was actually asked to speak at that event. And
Mm.
I was on a panel and I was scared out of my ever loving mind.
Shauna, I
Like,
can't imagine it. I can't
oh gosh,
imagine
I was
there.
so scared. Like, but here's where I was scared of. You guys, I guess maybe didn't even mention. I am like a basic person from Nebraska, like middle of the country, the most basic human being. You know what I mean? Just like
Yes.
literally. And so
I
that's,
yes, but I think you're anything but basic, but
well, I
yes.
know that's what people say, but that's how I view myself, right? Like I am just you know what I mean? Like I'm just this mom and who likes to run a business and like likes to have fun and you know what I mean? But I'm like this basic mom from Nebraska. Right. And so when they asked me to speak because I'd had some success, probably because I went to that event and then I decided and then I got home and I built my business and I took 3 people and I got locked in the room and then we came home and we were excited and we built our business some more. Right. So I had rank advance pretty quickly. And then I got asked to speak. And I remember thinking, what am I going to teach anybody? Like, what do I have to say that is going to help someone? You know? And so I sat up there shaking. I remember what I was wearing. I remember what the stage looked like. I remember who was beside me, like all of it. I don't even know what I said though, because I was like scared out of my mind. However, what happened after I spoke was magical, which was there was a line. I don't even know what I said. I just told my story and, whatever. I don't know. And then there was this line of people who literally lined up to talk to me and ask me questions afterwards,
Mm.
strangers that I did not know.
Mhm.
And I walked out of that room thinking, maybe I'm discounting myself and my abilities.
Mm.
Literally, I walked in the bathroom and started crying. I was so overwhelmed with like almost like empowerment and like, oh my gosh, am I, you know what I mean? Like maybe I'm can give more than I ever thought. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I can't believe I thought I was only really making a difference in my own small community and the people that I knew, but now I'm making a difference in all these strangers' lives. Like it was just like this overwhelming thing.
Yeah.
And that's again where I said,
Mm.
this is going to be bigger because my yes can change a whole lot more lives than I ever thought. So
Yeah.
that was the magic of my third event.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's such a testament to, we hear all the time the scariest things in life. One of them is public speaking, the fears that people have, right?
Mhm,
And and that's a real thing. It's
mhm,
scary to get up on that
mhm,
stage. Um, but when you think about the people that are there that are hearing your story and what possibly they could take from that of just feeling like what you were said, like, I'm just a
mhm.
basic girl from Nebraska. But that speaks to so many people because they go, oh, Shauna is up here sharing this story that resonates so much with me, or I'm hearing so many similarities, and she's doing it and she's having success with it. That makes sense to me. And
Mhm.
which is such a cool thing. So I say all that to, if anyone is nervous, gets asked to speak in any way, rather it be big, small, take advantage of it
Say
because
yes. Say
yeah,
yes. It will grow you more than you ever thought, and it will land for some you'll make a difference in somebody's life. That's what I
ex-
found out every time that I've been asked to speak. I'm like, someone will message me, like, probably after this podcast, somebody's gonna message me and say that I don't know, right? And say, "Thank you for saying this that resonated with them." And I'm like, y'all, that's what we're here to do. We're here to serve people, up level people, bring people along with us in our mindset. But I will come back to say, if I wasn't in those rooms every single time, I couldn't feel what was happening. I wouldn't have up leveled myself and my business would have grown because of it,
'cause it
period. Like
sounds to
point
me
blank.
like each event that you've been to has played a part in leading up to the next one that you go to.
Yes, absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so fast forward now.
Mhm.
10 years later from those first 3 events that were so impactful and have made such a big difference, for you, what do you see different from then until now as you go to events? Like, last year, we had a handful of events and handful of corporate events, but I would imagine you had a larger handful of events that you went to on your own.
Mhm. Mhm.
What What is the biggest difference? What things are you noticing now at events or things that come out of, the events you go to now in comparison to 10 years ago?
What's so funny because I go to events thinking to I mean, sometimes, like, when you become, like, leadership, right, or whatever you wanna think like, whatever, I lead a team, right, like, of people.
Yeah.
I get so excited watching my team of people, the light bulbs go off and off and off, like, remembering, "Oh my gosh, that was my first I remember my first event," you know? And,
Yeah.
well, this time going into Vegas, I have 2 of my team speaking, like, on stage, right? And so,
Super
that's
cool.
almost like a the more way more cool than I ever speaking. It's like these little like I it's so funny. They're gonna laugh when they hear this, but it's like my little baby birds. It's like my little baby birds are flying out of the nest. Like this is amazing. And it's so funny because they're my same age and they're beautiful women and they're like incredible. You know what I mean? I really had nothing no part in it all, right? Like really, they're incredible women. But it feels like, oh, so this
Just
proud
proud mom moment in a
honestly, I don't even know. I'm anticipating what that's gonna feel like. It's happened before, but it's happening again with different people, right? And I'm like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that." But
yeah.
watching, like, sitting in a row and seeing the team that you bring with you, dozens and dozens and dozens of people. I want you to vision that. If you don't have a big team right now, when you do, because it is the coolest feeling to look down the line and be like, if that person wouldn't have talked to that person, who wouldn't have talked to that person, who wouldn't have talked to that person, who wouldn't talk, like You can literally see it sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
And that is an overwhelming feeling, knowing
Really
it didn't
cool.
happen without your yes and without you opening your mouth, right? To talk to them, all those lives wouldn't have been impacted. And every single person sitting beside, or every single person in the whole convention arena will have a story of impact, right? They have had something happen to them, and that's why they're in this room, or they have a vision of hope for themselves. And
Mhm.
that's something that's hard to give in today's world, right? And we get to give that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the thing that I like 10 years later, that's the difference in the feeling.
Mm.
However, anytime I think I know it all, which by the way, I'm a learner, like a constant learner, so I never think I know it all. I'm always constantly taking notes. Every single event, you won't see me without a notebook. I always have more to learn. But that's the funny thing. Something that I probably heard 10 years ago, because the messages are consistent, our principles are consistent of how we build this business, right?
Mhm.
But something I could have heard 10 years ago, I maybe hear it today, 10 years later, but I'm in a different place. And so I hear it completely differently to implement the concept differently.
Yeah.
So that's why I think even if you're like, oh, I've heard that before, it's so important to go back because you're now at a different place
Mhm.
in your leadership, in your own personal growth, that you're going to hear something that, and you just hear it differently. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I remember hearing that, but I didn't take it like that at all. And
Yeah.
you take
You're
it,
able to implement it in a
yeah.
different way in your
My
business.
husband Greg came to my, it must have been somewhere around my fourth event. He was able to finally come with me, like leave the kids, make it all work, right? And him come with me to experience it. And since that event, he hasn't missed one either. And
Mm.
it's partially because that one was in Denver, drivable for us. So we had a long drive home to talk, right? And so I remember that conversation. I remember saying, so much of what we learned we can implement in our marriage, in our parenting. This isn't just about business. These are personal growth things and concepts you can implement through your whole life to make your life better. And honestly, because we're basic people from Nebraska, my husband is a therapist, so he's quite the thinker. But it's stuff like I had never been introduced to before. Thoughts, challenges, like people challenging my own thoughts that I'd never been introduced to before. So uh, when I talk about like I think Shauna's a different Shauna 10 years later, I am in all the good ways. I'm like an up level version of myself. And it's because of these events.
Well, so, okay, 10 years of going to events.
Well,
What is something that you would, and it could be, this could be for a brand new person, this could be maybe for somebody that's just been kinda dabbling their toes in for a few years and they're just getting going, whatever it might be. What is something or some things that you would tell someone that's going to an event to make the most out of it? Like, what are things that you have noticed that you've done while attending events that have been the most impactful coming out of it and getting home? Does that make sense? Like,
100%. Okay. Yes. I know exactly what the answer is to this. So intention is what it is. You have to think about when you're so especially like convention or a corporate event, okay? Convention or a corporate event, or even like if you have a LifeVantage tour coming towards you at a regional event, like anything that corporate helps put on. I suggest to my team all the time and to myself, I'm speaking to myself here, go in with intention. What do you want coming out of the event? And you have to think about that before going in because sometimes you go in and like life's crazy and you're like, it takes you a day to even calm down. So you're not hearing anything, right? So if you go in with intention of like, what do I want to learn? What do I want to get better at? Sometimes at your first event, that might be harder to like determine, but maybe you go in going, I just want a deeper understanding about what this all is and a feeling coming out of it, right? And so then you take your notes with that intention and you listen for those things, right? So you don't miss them. The other thing, if you're going into an event and you're already like, I highly, 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 highly encourage that you walk in there with a names list. Like you start
mm,
a couple days before you go of like I would have a list of names of people that you've currently been talking to. I would have a list of names of people that you want to talk to, okay? And then as you're sitting in that event, I guarantee you names start flying into your head. You hear a story of somebody speaking on stage, and you're like, oh, I thought of this person, add them to the list. Because the last thing you want to do, you're going to come, I promise you, you are going to come out of this event or any event that you go to on a whole different level than when you went in. Your excitement level, your energy is going to be high. You're going to want to go talk to everybody. And if you have to go back and think of who you want to talk to, your energy kind of dies down. So if you go in with a list and can build the list while you're in the event, and then you come out, you're like, oh, now I'm just going to call some people. Now I just got to get to tell them. You know what I mean? Now I just get to share. Now I
Yeah.
just get to invite them.
Yeah.
That's what would be my biggest advice to get the most out of the event.
I love that. And, this happens to me so often. And it's funny, some of us are slow learners. So it took me a few times to figure this out. But I will be at an event, hear something that is so profound. Maybe it's a quote, maybe it's something within a story that someone told, and I will love it. And it resonates so much with me and with what I'm going through or what's happening in my life. And I will think to myself, oh, I won't forget that. Guess what always happens? I
Yes.
forget it. Every
100%.
single time. If I don't write it down, without fail, I forget it.
Yes,
And
write
so
that down. That we actually on our team, people know me and we say it all the time. Like I won't say it here, but it's like write that down, right? Like every time, like something like you'll probably hear my team at the next convention. Y'all will be sitting in a row and something good will be said. And we're like, write that down. Like that's good, right? And we do it, write it down, take a picture of it, write it in your notes, whatever you're going to be able to pull up. I mean, it's just like church. Like if you're sitting at church, right, on a Sunday, you know the feeling you get at church and they say something so profound. You're like, I've got to remember that because some point I want to be able to not only remember that for myself, but probably be able to repeat that to somebody else, right?
Mhm.
Like, because it was amazing thought.
Yeah,
So have a note in your phone from church, like that you can scroll back and find those kind of things. Or, you know what I mean? Like have a notebook, whatever it is. So same,
absolutely.
same thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot or focused on big events, convention, Momentum Academy, the kind of stuff. Let's talk a little bit about smaller events. What do you feel like? Because like I said, I'm sure that you've had just as many or more of those experiences as the big events. What have been your biggest takeaway from those, and what kind of experiences have you noticed that are really impactful with the smaller events? Because we know the big events, there's so much energy, there's so many people to meet, so much happening. But I really think that the smaller ones can be just as impactful. So let's
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
I want to add one more thing. I'm going to go back and add one more thing to the list. I gave you two things to go into a convention. The other thing I coach my team on all the time, especially if it's their first event, that anytime they're standing in line anywhere, in a store, in line to get in the convention room, whatever, you ask the person you're standing by, what's your story?
Mm,
Because you're also trying to build your own belief every single time. And I promise you, the stories you hear from the people just sitting beside you, standing around you, but you have to be the one to ask. Not
yeah,
everybody's just going to be like, oh, they want to hear my story. Let me tell it. Right. But you, with intention, gather as many stories as possible because I promise that will lead you to serve better the people in front of you. So that would be the thing. Small events. Okay. Like, I mean, I adore them. Y'all, just think about the difference between having a phone call with your friend and having a coffee with your friend in person. There it feels different, right? It just feels different. Sometimes a phone call's all we get, sometimes a Zoom's all we get, right? But there's something that changes when you can hug, when you can physically be in the presence of somebody else. You feel the energy different. Like you can look into somebody's eyeballs, you know what I mean? Like there's something happens. Trust is built. Like honestly, that's probably the biggest deal. Trust is built when you can see the person sitting in front of you, right? I don't
right.
like to make big sales decisions ever. Like think about buying a car or whatever. Like you usually want to know or getting a mortgage. Like you usually want to know the person sitting in front of you. Are they giving me a good deal, a bad deal? Like do I trust them? You know what like these are people you're looking for. They are looking to you to be a person of trust, right? So show them that you trust them. Something happens in the room. Do I say that the only time that I ever have conversations about my business when I'm in a room with somebody? No. Zoom, messaging, voice clips, but as much as I can get close to being in a room, I try to. For
Mhm.
example, I just did I think one of our consultants on our team, I happened to be driving my my daughter, for a basketball game, we traveled 2.5 hours for the basketball game, right? And we were in a town where a newer consultant lives, and I just messaged her that morning and I said, hey, if it works, I could stop by before or after and help you have conversations with anybody if you put it together. And of course she was like, yes, please. So by the time the game ended, she had 3 people like ready to come to her house and talk
Yeah.
about this. And honestly, every single person in the room, only 3, but every single person enrolled somehow, some way in the business. And it was that wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened if we weren't sitting around the table, sitting around a circle together. And I
Mhm.
could hear their story and they could hear, you know what I mean? The story of LifeVantage. And I could look in their eyes and say, literally, would you like to live healthier longer? Because we have a product who extends life, y'all. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
But I could look in their eyeballs and they could see I wasn't kidding them.
Yeah.
I wasn't lying to them. So there's something that happens. Also, anytime you can get around your team, I will say that. So we do team retreats and we don't even do training. We're not even supposed to talk about business necessarily. It's about you earn this trip so that you can have a weekend getaway to know your community. And
Yeah.
that's because I know that culture matters. Of course, does conversation turn to business? Of course it does, because it's part of our life, right? And in such a beautiful way. Our business isn't separate from our life. Our business is part of our life, which I think is awesome. So of course we start talking about it. But we just had our team retreat a couple weeks ago, and one of the moms walked out of there and she said, something happened here that I just was like, these people are doing it. I can do it. I built building a relationship with somebody that you can go, I trust them to show up for me. And you know what I mean? I just building a deep as connection as you can with other people. It's so much more fun to lock arms with them. Think about the best basketball teams. Think about the best, teams. And I love sports and we're a basketball family and a tennis family. But I think of a basketball team, the best teams. Oh, Nebraska is a great example. I'm just going to say it. Nebraska is a great example this year. If you followed anything basketball, we had our best Huskers, had their best season in all of forever, history of forever. And it's not because we even have big stars on the team.
Yeah.
It's because that team trusts each other so much that anybody could make a play.
They learned how
And
to work.
if you can build that kind of team to know you're all moving in the right direction, to know that you have each other's back no matter what, something magical happens and you'll go serve a lot of people and you'll help a lot of people win in life.
Yeah.
So nothing. And that doesn't happen without being together.
It doesn't. I mean, we've said this before, and I think it's really one of the beautiful, magical things about this business is that success isn't built alone. It's
Yep.
not built alone in this business. You can only get so far on your own.
And who wants to be alone anyway?
Exactly. And so I love that. I think
Yeah.
it's one of the greatest things that we have.
What?
Well, Shauna, thank you so much for joining me and sharing you. I love your energy. It's contagious. It's so amazing. And we're not even in person.
Yeah,
This is
it is true. When we are in person, you would have heard a lot more laughing, probably.
And I'm so glad that you have your voice back
Yes,
and that we
I
get to
appreciate it, and I'm honored every single time you ask me to talk, and I'm not kidding you guys. Get to a place, build a story that they ask you to talk. Something happens because it will, I'll get off this and be like, what the heck? Why are they asking me still today, 10 years later? You know what I mean? Again, it will just move you to another level. It will just move you to another level. And this is all about building stories, helping people. So get to know people, get in person, help people, help yourself.
Yep. Events build belief, right? It's just what they do.
100%.
They build belief and community and trust and all the things. And, we have a lot of fun too when we're there.
Fun happens at events too.
All right, Shauna, thank you so much. And thank you, Activation Nation, for tuning in. Can't wait to see everyone, including Shauna, in person in Las Vegas. And until next week, goodbye, everyone.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Activation Nation podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for future episodes and updates, and share with a friend or prospect that you think could benefit from today's conversation. Check the episode description for any links or disclaimers, and we'll see you next week for another episode. And now, the legal stuff. The sales earnings disclosed are potential gross earnings and do not account for expenses incurred in building a business. The average 12-month earnings of a typical U.S. consultant who earned in 2024 are $683. LifeVantage does not guarantee any income or rank success. A consultant's earnings will depend on individual diligence, work effort, and market conditions. Visit the LifeVantage Income Disclosure Statement for more information.